Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Robin Hills Becoming Emotionally Intelligent in a Digitally Evolving World podcast. On this podcast, we're going to discuss Robin's emotional intelligence course and, of course, hear from the man himself about why he wishes to produce this course and what he hopes students will take from it. Robin's Becoming Emotionally Intelligent in a Digitally Evolving World course will be launching on the Uppercent platform. Uppercent is a new online course platform with a twist. Uppercent sells access to courses in the form of access passes. A limited, exclusive number of access passes will be available for each course. Due to the technology we use, the access passes are ownable, which allows an owner of an access pass to sell it to someone else interested in the course after they're done with the course. So you could buy a Robin Hills access pass for this course, take all of the value from the course, and then sell it to another Uppercent member afterwards. And because the access passes are limited, if another member wants access to the course after the passes have all been sold, they will have to buy it from a member who already owns one. So essentially, Uppercent is creating this secondary market for the reselling of access passes to e-learning courses. If you'd like to apply for the chance to purchase one of the access passes to Robin's course when they're available, apply by visiting the link displayed at the bottom of this screen or the link in the bio of this podcast. So, with the introductions out of the way, Robin, thank you very much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you ever so much for inviting me onto the podcast, Jake. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. I mean, your course excites me. I know what a valuable skill set being emotionally intelligent is. So hopefully, throughout the duration of this podcast, others can understand that as well. But I think a real good, starting point would be to just get a bit of an introduction to yourself, really, for everyone listening who's not, met you before.
Sure. My name's Robin Hills, as you can see from the bottom of the screen. I'm an emotionally intelligent coach, trainer, and facilitator. I've been working in the field of emotional intelligence for a couple of decades now, working on helping people to develop themselves, either as an individual or as part of a team or as part of a larger organization. So the work that I do involves working with people, helping them to improve their performance and making better decisions on a day-to-day basis, and also helping to build relationships.
Fantastic. And I suppose, you've done a lot of work in your career around emotional intelligence. So what would be good is why did you specifically want to create this course, especially as it has the edge of, in a digitally evolving world, not just emotional intelligence, but in this digitally evolving world, what were the driving factors around you wanting to produce this specific course?
Sure. Emotional intelligence, I think before we go any further, Jake, it would only be fair to actually define emotional intelligence before I answer your question.
Good idea.
Emotional, emotional intelligence is being smart with your feelings. It's combining your thinking with your emotions in order to make good quality decisions and build up authentic relationships. It's nothing more complex than that. However, that's easily said, but very difficult to do. And as I say, I've been working in the field for a number of years. And what excites me about the opportunity with Uppercent is this is a completely new way of working with online learning. I've been working in the space of online learning. I've developed a variety of courses on emotional intelligence, and I've got about 500,000 people taking my courses in over 195 countries. What makes the Uppercent offer different is that it's digitally focused and it's happening within the digital space. This is the way forward for the future. And to be a pioneer within that really interests me and really excites me.
Fantastic. I think you're right. The world that we know is changing, and we are entering. Well, we already have entered, but every day we're more entering this new era of the digital world. And again, with Uppercent and the way that we're trying to work around e-learning and innovate e-learning and provide more value to students definitely demonstrates that. So what would you say when we're talking about emotional intelligence? How do you think it can differ from, I don't know, emotional intelligence 20 years ago and then emotional intelligence in this digitally evolving world?
Well, I think emotional intelligence, when we look back 20 years ago, was known by a few people and respected by a few people. But what we've seen over the last couple of decades is that it's become a lot more commonly known, and people are becoming more aware of it, and they don't see it as a management fad, something that's going to go out of fashion. And I think as we went through the pandemic, it actually sharpened people's minds around what it is and what it means to be emotionally intelligent. How do you work with your emotions when they are intensely in a place that you don't necessarily want them to be? So that's how emotional intelligence has come to where we are today. There's still a lot more work to do. I'm often think of the question, am I emotionally intelligent? Well, if I answer yes, it's rather arrogant and self-conceited and suggests that there's no further improvement I need to make. And if I answer no, what on earth am I doing in the space of emotional intelligence? So it depends. There are times when I'll go into a situation and I'll be very pleased with the way in which it's gone, and I'll feel good about that and feel good about the answers I've given people and the relationship that I've I've built up through that interaction. And there'll be other times when I'll come out of a situation and think, do you know, Robin, you didn't do as well as you could have done. So is always room for improvement. And Jake, you and I have spoken on a number of occasions, and we built up a really good relationship over the last 18 months or so, some of it digitally and some of it face to face. And there have been times when I've walked away from our interaction and thought, do you know, Robin, you could have done a lot better with Jake. So it's something that I think we've just got to be constantly aware of. I am responsible for me. I make the choices that I need to make. And sometimes they're good choices and sometimes they could be better.
Well, put it this way, I think you've been a pleasure to be around whenever we've met, and I've had the pleasure of working with you. So you didn't need to walk away at any point in time and discuss. But I suppose
Well, you're
that's
very generous, but I walked away a couple of times and thought, I didn't like the answer I gave to that particular question, or perhaps I could have given a better answer, or perhaps I could have helped Jake in a different way. And like I say, it's important for me to be critical, but not too self-critical that it destroys my integrity. But it helps me to improve all the time, and there's still a lot I can learn from this.
I appreciate the honesty, but like I said, you've been amazing and very helpful as well, in these early stages of our journey. So we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Um,
Jake.
so
Jake, but before you ask me the next question, I don't feel I've answered your question previously fully. And you asked me around emotional intelligence in the digital world. And really, emotional intelligence is starting to become an interesting factor with the advance of artificial intelligence, AI, which has been thrown very much into sharp focus over the last year or so. Now, AI is good. I use AI in my work on a regular basis, almost daily, but the outputs are not brilliant. I think there's a lot of improvement that can happen before we can actually hand everything over to AI. But with regards to human emotions, that is something that the computers will never be able to do and never be able to understand. So becoming more emotionally intelligent keeps us steps ahead of the computers. I don't think we will ever get to a point where a computer can replicate the complexities of our brain. Therefore, I think in terms of emotions and emotional intelligence, that's something the computers will never know or never fully understand and never appreciate.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. I wonder if it can be trained into a computer. Who knows?
Who knows? I think we may be looking, well, certainly not in my lifetime. I think we will be looking centuries away before they become smart enough to replicate and fully appreciate and understand human emotions. Emotions are a physiological and psychological reaction to a changing environment. Now, a computer doesn't have physiology. It certainly does have, to a certain extent, psychology. But I think when we're taking it down to the complexities of the working of a human cell, the minutest part of a human body and the way in which that works, we just don't understand it. There's a bag of proteins there, all communicating with each other in various concentrations, and they move about according to what needs to happen. That the complexity of that is just beyond human comprehension. Now, whether the computers will get sophisticated enough to actually determine that and understand that, I really don't think so. I mean, the human genome, we talk about that and the understanding of the human genome. Yeah, we can construct it, but we don't know how it really works. And I don't think we will ever know how it fully works, and that's before we even start looking at the smaller chemicals, the like I say, the proteins and the sugars and the fats and how they all interact together in terms of making the cell work. And then you build the cell up into organs and the complexities of how they interact. It's going to be fascinating and very, very interesting. So it's more than just knowledge and artificial intelligence. It's all about human intelligence and it's all about emotional intelligence.
Understood. Understood. Yeah, I mean, I am excited to see how far we can train models and whether we
Yeah.
can bring emotions to different AI models. But that's something that we're going to have to see. And turning our attention, say, back to your course now, the course you're looking to produce with Uppercent. What
Yes.
the are really kind of the key takeaways of this course? What do you want students to really learn in the course you're looking to produce here?
Well, I want people to come away from the course with a much better understanding of themselves. So, what we need to do is to help people with their self awareness. What is it that you are good at? What are your strengths? I'm not necessarily interested in your weaknesses and your liabilities because normally when I'm coaching people, they can easily tell me the things they're not good at. But I'm more interested in finding out what you are good at so that we can get more of that. How do you work with your emotions? How do you recognize them? How do you regulate them? How do you control them? How do you get them to work for you? Emotions contain data, so how do we analyze that data? How do we bring our intelligence to work with emotions in order that you can make better decisions and build up relationships? How do you empathize with people? How do you communicate? And all of these topics will be covered within the course. They are all fundamental parts of emotional intelligence. But this course isn't about me. This course isn't about Jake. This course isn't about Uppercent. This course is about you and helping you to be better at what you do.
Very well put. Very, very well put. I love the directiveness and the action that hopefully people will be able to take from this course and the impact hopefully it can have on their lives and the course of their lives.
Sure.
And I suppose probably a bit of a more direct question, diving deeper into what people can take from this course, would be if you're, say, for example, you're a student on this course. now compared to 20 years ago? Why is this course, in your opinion, more important in this generation potentially than it ever has been before?
I think a lot of it is down to the fact that we've become more sophisticated in utilizing computers and digital technology and working with all of that. And certainly over the last couple of decades, my career has changed unrecognizably in that I'm working very much in the digital space, producing videos, producing quizzes, producing interactive activities in PDFs, and working with these tools in completely different ways to what I did 20 years ago. And what I would encourage people to do is to really look at engaging with the course beyond the video element of it, because you can't become more emotionally intelligent just by watching a few videos. You can become more knowledgeable about emotional intelligence, but you're going to have to go away from the course. You're going to have to try some things out. It's going to make you feel uncomfortable. And you're not going to like some of the things that happen to you because people will react to you in completely different ways. But you've got to make mistakes and you've got to learn from them. So beyond the course, it's your responsibility to put into action some of the things that are talked about within the course. And quite honestly, if you're not having some fun doing it, don't bother.
I agree. I agree. I think that's an attitude to take throughout all life. For me, I'm having fun when I'm trying to improve, and that's the whole concept around Uppercent, trying to become, in the uppercent of your designated field, a top 1% achiever. And this course is unique for me because I feel like it's not like you want to become a top achiever in emotional intelligence as you are, Robin, and become like a leading trainer in emotional intelligence. It's more how you can use what you learn about emotional intelligence and becoming emotional
Yes.
to become a top achiever in whatever that field is that you're driven by and you're passionate by. So I'd like to get your take as well on how you think this course can help people become top achievers, or as I like to say, in the upper cent of people in their field.
Well, top achievers have this self-awareness that I've talked about. They really do understand the impact that they and their behavior has on other people. So in order to be a top achiever, you need to appreciate and understand, if you don't already, that top achievers make decisions, they will take risks, but they will also analyze the impact that these have on the people that they work with and who work around them. So they will look at the members of the team that they work with, they will look at the clients that they work with, they will look at the stakeholders, they will look at anybody and everybody and think, am I influencing this person in the most appropriate way? Is there a better way? Can I do it differently? Can I improve through this? And more importantly, can I improve their life through my interaction? Because if you answer that question in the affirmative and in a positive way, then interestingly enough, you're becoming more emotionally intelligent.
Very true. Very true. Thank you for sharing that, Robin. And I think, to be honest, I'm sold on the course. So for me, it would be a good point to ask you if there's anything else that you really wanted to share about the course whilst we have this time together.
No, I think we've covered most of the main points here, Jake. I'm really, really excited because this digital world is something that we are all exploring. There's great potential there. How can we work with it in emotionally intelligent ways? Now, today, there has been a headline around robots taking over people's jobs, and I've been talking about this for about a decade. It doesn't matter what job you do, there are going to be certain elements of the job that AI will do better, but there are going to be certain elements of your job that at the moment AI will can't do. And I think for the foreseeable future, AI won't do. And I think what we've got to do is to tap into that, recognize what that is. And that then highlights a core component of emotional intelligence, and that's empathy. It's seeing things from other people's perspectives, understanding their thinking, understanding their thoughts, their thoughts, their feelings, and their emotions, and adapting around those. So when you're empathizing with somebody, you don't necessarily have to agree with them. You just have to understand. And I think that is what will separate us from the computer, from the digital world, from the robots. And that is the element that will keep us and your job safe.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I mean, it's opened my mind up a lot because as someone who works in tech every day and again reads these headlines and fully believes that these headlines, the reasonable ones, have some form of truth to them in terms of jobs being replaced by AI and robots. So yeah, I do appreciate your viewpoint in terms of maybe trying to calm down people who think that everything's going to change, because there are certain aspects here, especially when it comes to emotional intelligence, that just will cannot be overtaken,
Yeah.
and there's always going to be a need for certain things in society that new technology won't be able to handle. So I do appreciate your warming words of wisdom and advice, and I'm sure other people do too, that think the robots are coming to take over. So I appreciate it. And just one point to finish on: if you could give us your top 3 tips, general tips on becoming emotionally intelligent, I think that would be a really, really good place to end this.
I'm really going to emphasize what we've already talked about here, Jake. How can you become more self-aware? What I'd really like you to think about is, what is your unique skill? What is your superpower? What makes you different from anybody and everybody else? If you can identify that, that will help you to become more emotionally intelligent. Remember, you can have a choice around how you work with your emotions. So how do you regulate your emotions? Anyone can become angry. That's easy. But to be angry with the right person at the right time, at the right degree, that's not easy. So how do you use an emotion as intense as anger to get a good relationship and a good decision from it? And then the third point is really to re-emphasize what it is that we can do as humans that the computers can't do, and that's empathy. How do you build up more empathy? How do you understand people from a different perspective? And how can you influence and persuade from a human point of view? Because by so doing, again, you can make yourself more emotionally intelligent, keep yourself safe, and have some fun doing it, as I said.
Really, really good points. And again, a great focus on emotional intelligence, the power and the value of it, especially as we move into this digitally evolving world. Thank you very much, Robin. It's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast today and to chat all things emotional intelligence. There's a lot more on this subject coming to Uppercent, courtesy of Robin. So, again, just want to emphasize, if you want to learn more about Robin's upcoming Uppercent course and register, then you can do so by visiting uppercent.com/Robin-Hills. Other than that, again, Robin, thank you very much. Unless you've got any final words of wisdom about robots, I think we'll end it here.
No, I don't worry, they are coming, but we can control them.
Thank you very much for joining me, Robin.
Thank you, Jake. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.